There's something fascinating, and often misunderstood, about a woman's desire after she turns 30. For some, it's spoken about in whispers, with a knowing smile. For others, it's wrapped in myths, assumptions, or even quiet insecurities. Maybe you've heard it before. Women hit their sexual peak after 30. It's a statement that can sound exciting, intimidating, or even a little mysterious. But what does it really mean? Is it biology? Is it experience? Or is it something deeper? Something about the way a woman begins to see herself, her body, and her pleasure? The truth is, this stage of life can be a turning point. By 30, many women have moved past the awkwardness or uncertainty of their early 20s. They know what they like, and more importantly, what they don't. They've lived, loved, maybe even lost. And all of that life experience shapes not just their confidence, but the way they connect, feel, and respond to desire. And yet, the topic is clouded with misconceptions. Some imagine an instant surge of unstoppable lust, as if a switch is flipped on her birthday. Others think it's just a myth, a story told to make women feel better about aging. But the reality, it's more nuanced, more layered, and far more intriguing. So here's the question we're diving into today. Do women really experience stronger sexual desire after 30? And if they do, what's driving it? Is it the body's changing hormones, a shift in emotional and psychological needs? Or perhaps the freedom that comes from knowing yourself and not being afraid to ask for what you want? As we explore this, I want you to think beyond stereotypes. Desire isn't just about physical urges, it's about connection, trust, and the space you give yourself to feel. And sometimes the fire that burns after 30 isn't about being younger or wilder. It's about being more in tune with your own pleasure and unafraid to let it show. Because when a woman knows herself, that's when desire can become something truly powerful. When we talk about desire after 30, we can't ignore the role of biology, especially hormones. They're the silent messengers shaping the rhythm of a woman's body and sometimes her appetite for intimacy. Between the late 20s and early 40s, key hormones, estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone, shift in subtle but significant ways. For some women, testosterone, the hormone that quietly fuels sexual desire, stays steady or even peaks during this time. That stability can mean sustained or even heightened interest in sex. Combine that with a deeper understanding of one's body, and you have a recipe for richer, more confident intimacy. But hormones aren't always a straight path upward. Pregnancy, postpartum recovery, and breastfeeding can temporarily dampen desire. The body is healing, hormones are recalibrating, and energy is often directed toward caring for a new life. It's a natural phase, one that doesn't mean passion is gone forever. In fact, for many women, once those seasons pass, desire doesn't just return, it can surge. The body feels ready again, and the mind, having moved through such transformative experiences, may crave connection on a deeper, more intentional level. It's worth remembering that these shifts aren't just about numbers on a lab test. Hormones influence how sensitive you feel to touch, how quickly arousal builds, and even how much your body craves closeness. And when that inner chemistry lines up with emotional intimacy and a supportive partner, the results can feel electric. Think of it like this. In your 20s, desire might be sparked by novelty or sheer curiosity. After 30, it's often fueled by a blend of biology and self-awareness, a knowing of what you want, and an unspoken confidence in how to get there. That's why this stage of life can be so powerful for sexual connection. It's not just hormones doing the work, it's the harmony between body, mind, and lived experience. So yes, biology plays its part, but it's the way a woman leans into these changes, embracing them instead of fearing them, that often determines how brightly that inner flame burns. After 30, something shifts, not just in the body, but in the mind and heart. For many women, this is the age when confidence begins to feel like second nature, and that confidence has a powerful influence on desire. In their 20s, women often navigate uncertainty about their bodies, their partners, even about what they truly enjoy in intimacy. But by 30, many have moved past those early hesitations. They've learned their likes and dislikes, not from theory, but from lived experience. And with that comes a quiet assurance. I know who I am, and I know what I want. That self-knowledge is deeply attractive, not only to a partner, but to the woman herself. There's also a softening that happens with emotional maturity. The frantic need to perform or meet someone else's expectations begins to fade. Instead, intimacy becomes less about proving something and more about feeling something. It's about connection, presence, and shared vulnerability. When a woman feels safe enough to let her guard down, the space for deeper arousal naturally opens. Another powerful shift is the acceptance of her body. While insecurities can still exist, they often lose their grip. She's lived in her skin long enough to appreciate what it can do, not just how it looks. That acceptance removes a layer of sexual anxiety, making it easier to be fully present in the moment. And when emotional intimacy is built on trust, understanding, and genuine care, sex becomes more than a physical act. It transforms into an exchange of energy, a conversation without words. This is why women after 30 often describe intimacy as richer, more satisfying, and more fulfilling than before. Because when confidence meets emotional depth, desire isn't just a spark, it's a steady, burning flame. And it's not about chasing the wild rush of novelty anymore. It's about savoring every moment, knowing exactly how to keep that fire alive. In long-term relationships, desire doesn't survive on autopilot. It's shaped every single day by the way you communicate, the freshness you keep alive, and the attraction you continue to nurture for each other. For many women after 30, the dynamics of life begin to shift. The constant rush of building a career or raising small children might ease just enough to create space, mental space, emotional space, for intimacy. And that space matters. When your mind isn't constantly weighed down by deadlines or sleepless nights, you have more room to notice the little things. The way your partner's voice softens when they speak to you, the lingering brush of their hand as you pass, the look that says, "I still want you." A stable, trusting relationship can be the perfect foundation for stronger desire if you keep feeding it. That doesn't mean wild, dramatic gestures. It often means small, intentional acts, checking in on each other's needs, trying something new together, even if it's just a different way of touching or a spontaneous change of setting. These subtle injections of novelty keep the relationship from slipping into monotony and remind you both that attraction is alive and well. Communication is everything here, not just about sex itself, but about what makes you feel desired, safe, and understood. When you can talk openly about your desires without fear of judgment, the emotional connection deepens. And with it, physical desire often follows. And in a healthy, communicative partnership, intimacy becomes more than an act. It becomes a shared language. One look, one word, one familiar touch can reignite a fire that's been burning quietly in the background. Because in the end, desire in a long-term relationship isn't about keeping the spark from going out. It's about learning how to tend the flame so it burns brighter, warmer, and deeper as the years go by. One of the most common beliefs about female sexuality is this: after 30, desire naturally fades. It's an idea so often repeated that many women begin to expect it, to brace themselves for a slow decline in passion as the years pass. But here's the truth. For a lot of women, that decline never comes. In fact, for many, desire doesn't just stay steady, it grows, it deepens, it becomes more intentional, more connected, and in many cases, far more satisfying than it ever was before. The difference isn't magic, it's about the factors that shape desire: physical health, the quality of a relationship, and perhaps most importantly, a woman's mental and emotional state. When her body feels well, when she feels truly seen and wanted by her partner, when her mind is clear and open, desire has room to breathe. It thrives. And this is where the misconception can do real harm. If you believe your desire must fade with age, you might stop nurturing it. You might interpret a temporary dip caused by stress, exhaustion, or life changes as permanent. But often those low points are just that, moments. And with care, connection, and sometimes a little creativity, they can shift. I've seen women in their late 30s and 40s speak about sex with more excitement and confidence than they ever felt in their 20s. Why? Because they know their bodies. They've shed some of the insecurities that used to hold them back. And they've learned that desire is not a fixed number on a chart. It's a living thing that responds to how you care for yourself and your relationships. So no, 30 is not the beginning of the end for your sexuality. If anything, it can be the start of a more empowered, more delicious chapter. The real question is, will you give yourself permission to explore it? So, where does this leave us? The truth is, a woman's desire after 30 isn't defined by a single factor. It's shaped by a complex dance between biology, psychology, and the quality of her relationships. Hormones play their part, yes, but so do confidence, emotional intimacy, and the life she's built for herself. Not every woman will experience a surge in sexual desire after 30. Some will notice subtle shifts, others dramatic ones. But for many, this chapter of life brings a powerful combination: a deeper self-awareness, a stronger sense of what feels good, and a clearer voice to ask for it. That alone can make intimacy more satisfying than it ever was before. It's important to remember, age is not the sole author of your sexual story. Desire doesn't live on a strict timeline. It's not a peak you hit and then watch fade away. Instead, it's fluid, responsive, and deeply personal. It grows in the right conditions, when your body feels cared for, when your mind feels safe, and when your heart feels connected. I've spoken with women who, at 35 or 45, describe their sex lives as the most passionate they've ever had. Not because they're chasing youth, but because they've embraced who they are now. They've let go of old insecurities, learned what ignites them, and cultivated relationships where intimacy is more than a physical act. It's a language of trust, play, and exploration. So if you're listening and wondering whether your desire will change as you move through this decade, here's the truth: it might. But the more important question is, what will you do with it? Will you nurture it, explore it, and give yourself permission to feel fully alive in your own skin? Because the most compelling thing about desire after 30 isn't simply whether it rises or falls. It's the freedom to experience it on your own terms,